This past Sunday, we started a brand new series called Gospel Centered Church. And in that series, we talked about what we do as a church. We always need to be reminded about what we're called to do. Many times if you have a job, go back to your job description and figure out what you're actually supposed to be doing in that. It's very helpful to do. And so even as Christians, we need to come back to understand that. Many times we base what we should be doing in church off of what we've seen other churches do, our past experience, what we've seen on social media, maybe some history or some tradition. But many times it's not based off what God's word actually says for us. And so we need to constantly be coming back to that. And that's what we're doing here in this series. And accompanied with this, we want to make sure it's not just Sunday, but it's every day, all throughout the week. And that's where we get into our missional community life. Because we go from Sunday as one big church into now smaller groups where we can actually hold each other accountable, encourage each other, and live this out together. And so there's three key identities we talk about as the Meadows Church. We are a family of missionary disciples. And so each week, as we gather together in missional communities and also on Sunday, we're going to be talking about those three identities. And this past one, we talked about family. We are a family, not just in kind of word, but in reality. We are a family of God. And why? Not because of anything we have done, but because God is Father. God's the Father, and He sent the Son to die for us so that we can also be called children of God. And so, when it comes to this idea of family, it's not some cool concept that we're just coming up with. No, this is what God has come up with. God has created us as a family. And so as a local church, we are a family that are committed to care and love one another. And so as a church, we've made this commitment. So you've joined the church, you've gone through Med Essential, you've joined the church, and you've already made this commitment. But this is the commitment that we said on Sunday that I want to read for us again and just refresh our minds about today. It says, as a family, we commit to eat together regularly, generously serve one another, and share laughs, tears, and forgiveness with each other. So that's our commitment. That's our general commitment that everyone in the church makes to do together. But now, as our missional communities, we're going to actually take that and write it in tangible forms. How are we actually going to do that in this year, 2023? And so I want you to be thinking about, from now, January, to the end of this year, what are we going to commit to doing this year? And so all groups, all missional communities, are going to have the same general commitment, but it's going to look differently for each group. Specifics, how are we going to do it? Where are we going to meet? What are we going to eat? How are we going to actually live this out? And so there's a generality where we all commit to it, but then specifics to your exact missional community. And so I'm grateful that you've been here today, that you're here today, and that you're committed to being here, not just today, but the next two Wednesday nights, because they're vitally important for you to be there. We want your input. You guys are coming up with your covenant together. We call this an MC covenant because you are covenanting together. You're promising to one another. You're promising to God that this is what you're going to do and you're going to live out over this year. And so obviously if you have input into it, it's much more easier for you to commit to doing it. And so those are the three general commitments that we're trying to make as a family. Eat together, generously serve one another, and then share laughs, tears, and forgiveness. And so what I want to do is just take a little bit of time, a few minutes, and just go over each of those three things and give you just some general ideas, just a direction. And then what you guys will be doing is spending the next hour going through and just discussing these things, brainstorming, thinking of ideas. And again, trying to be as specific as you can. Now, I know in some of these, you're just going to have to be a little bit general, but things to commit to. And so you can be writing a lot of things down and then just kind of slowly work it down into, hey, here are some things that we're going to commit to doing this year. Again, with goals, you want to have a few amount of goals, not so many, so that you actually do them. But write it all down, whether it's on the paper before you or digitally, and have one copy for your group that you guys all know, you all can read and you all can take home with you. Eventually, when we all finish this in 3 weeks, and then that's your commitment for the year to one another. So here they are, eat together. So as mission communities, we commit to eat together regularly. Now that term regularly is general so that you guys can figure it out. And so how often are you guys going to eat together? I think you need to eat at least once every 2 weeks. If not, I would say that's a very, very minimum. And so are you going to meet together to eat once a week? And if you do, where are you going to meet? How is that going to look? Who's going to bring the food? Who's going to commit to what? Are you going to do a schedule? Somebody going to stick to the main? Someone going to do side dishes? What are you guys going to do? How is that going to look? What night of the week? What day? how long, all those kind of details. That's the specifics that we are looking for here. But we can also be meeting together informally. And so, hey, we're going to just, commit to going out with somebody else in our mission community for a meal or having them over for a meal once a month. Outside of that, there's a whole list of things that we can be committing to here. Again, eating together regularly. It also means going for coffee, doing those kind of things together as well. You can also say, who are you going to invite? Sometimes it's really nice that just the people in the mission community are there, right? I know for us as our family, it's nice when it's just Julie, I, and the kids, and we want to do that often to build those relationships. But we also go and eat with others. And so what are some good times to invite people in? What are some times you just want to be alone and just with your mission community? Think of those things. Second, generously serve one another. How are you guys going to care for each other? Protect each other. When those of each other are in need, how are you guys going to be there for one another? Now, this might be a little bit more challenging to figure out specifics, but you can still commit to generalities. But if there is something you can think of, hey, we're going to drive this person in our mission community. We're going to serve them by helping them, maybe with babysitting, maybe taking care of their house, whatever it may be. What are some tangible things that you can do to generously serve one another? And again, this is giving of our time, our talent, and our treasure. And then lastly, we're going to share with laughs, tears, and forgiveness. And so what are some other times outside of, say, Wednesday night that you're going to get together and be together and share those laughs? Maybe it's going to be, we're going to celebrate everyone's birthday this year and go to their birthday parties. Or maybe it's, we're going to plan a trip in the summer. We're going to go camping. Maybe not our group. But what are you guys going to do? Maybe once a season, you're going to plan some sort of outing. I know myself and a few other families in the church, we went to Wonderland last year, and that was excellent. In years past, we've gone to a baseball game together. Sometimes it's difficult in planning those, but that's what it means to be a family. We go and make memories together. We laugh. We have great times. Also, how are you going to share tears together? You might not be able to plan that out, but you can at least make commitments. Hey, if we're going to be there for each other, we're going to share each other's burdens. But try to be as specific as you can. And then forgiveness. We're going to be quick to forgive. We're going to be there to make sure we're fighting for that unity. If there's something that comes up, we want to deal with it well. This is how we're going to deal with it. This is how we're going to bring it up. And thinking through that. We're obviously, as a family, we hurt each other. People who end up hurting you the most often are your family members because you're just around them so often. And so the same should be the reality for your missional community. And so we need to deal with that sin. And we can with the power of the gospel. And so how are you going to commit to doing it? Okay, so those are your specifics. Take the general commitment and go into specifics about how you guys want to do it this year. I'm excited to see how that goes. And the next 2 weeks, we're going to do the same thing with the other two identities. So take this next time to the end time you guys have tonight, just writing down ideas, thinking through it, discussing it, and then kind of boiling it down into specifics about what you guys can commit to. I know this might take longer, but try to do your best to do it and keep the conversations going. Work together to form this missional community covenant. And I'm excited to see what you're committing to do before God and committing before each other. So thank you so much, and I'm praying for your time together.